Still thinking you were living this life close to the earth, and your food would come up on a Cisco delivery truck from gosh knows where.
And it's funny because you have it for such a long time, your carrots get all bendy.
Chefs are used to using large national distribution chains for their product.
In Colorado, you have to order from Cisco, and it is so bad.
Inns, hotels, diners, sort of pizza places, just mid-range restaurants in other parts of the United States, they really have to compete with chains.
They can tell if they go to my restaurant and it tastes good and it's cooked well. It's just compared to a Chili's or somewhere else.
You're gonna get fresher food without a doubt. It's not gonna be trucked across country for a few days.
Are you gonna pick something in Mexico and put it on a truck?
It's always a big shift to ask a chef not to rely on that system, and in fact to rely on oftentimes the quixotic delivery schedule of farmers.
You can tell a difference because they're coming in and they're tasting it. They'll ask, where did this come from?
When you're shipping it 3,000 miles from California, it's sitting in a cooler, it's losing its nutrition, it's losing its vitamins, and it's using a lot of energy to keep it cool and to transport it here. And it doesn't taste as good.
Why is it Vermont? Why can't we do that here? Why doesn't Vermont has this cachet?
There's this really strong support system. There's obviously markets around here that don't exist in a lot of other locales, and there's generally people that are excited about food.
They always remark, like, this mescaline is so fresh. It's like yeah, it's 3 hours old. Or 6 hours old. We're going to get this to you, and it's going to be so delicious, and we're growing this variety not so that it can sit in a truck and go across the country. We're growing this because it tastes good and it works well in our climate, and we're going to send it right up the street to you. Pick it this morning and we'll have it there, by 10 o'clock if that's when you need it.
I have friends starting farms in central New York, and they're saying we are, a decade ahead of where they hope to be. For them, it's really great because it's an untapped market, and they're hoping that they can really cultivate that general feel around food and agriculture. But it hasn't sunk in yet with the general population like it seems like it has here.
I guess the Shelburne Farm experience is one that kind of fit naturally into the way that I perceive cooking, and my philosophy on cooking is just getting the freshest ingredients, the best ingredients, and utilizing them.
You have a deep respect for what you're using because it didn't just come off a truck out of a box. I know the guy who works, 12 hours a day to grow it, and I know, and I spend, 80 hours a week on the land that it comes out of. So, it's all just this. It's all based on a really deep connection.
There are people that are eager and they're looking for more small producers to bring in more specialty stuff and to have a different sort of relationship with where their food's coming from.
There's no question that incorporating local ingredients into your menu, particularly if you're going to go beyond the sort of cheese, milk, eggs, it's complicated and it's usually more work. So a chef has to decide that there are reasons why it's worth it to pursue relationships with farmers. And for most of the chefs, it's that the quality of the ingredients is much higher. For other chefs, it's because they really believe that Vermonters are their neighbors, and they should be supporting, especially Vermont farmers are their neighbors, and they should be supporting their neighbors. want to understand cuisine, you have to understand agriculture.
You're buying it locally, you're supporting the families, but also you're getting this amazing product that hasn't sat in a truck on its way across the country.
It's nice to say, hey, I just got my venison from Legend Farms, which is 20 minutes down the road. Or my chicken is, 15 minutes down the road. Or my vegetables are coming from, Shelburne Farms.
Some chefs are very concerned about the way in which animals are raised and then slaughtered, and that is a prime mover for them for buying meat locally. But otherwise, a lot of them is that they think the flavor is better.
Inconsistent for quality, or just not available. Like last week we didn't get any lamb because the farm that we buy from didn't go to slaughter because they had just weaned all the baby lamb, and she felt that the lamb were too upset to go to slaughter. So that's what you have to deal with, and I like being a part of it, and I love that there are going to be these big glitches in the routine because that's life on the farm.
Many products can be more expensive, especially, for example, meat, because if you're going to be buying meat that isn't produced in a factory farm and you're going to have to, and they're being pasture fed, meat is significantly more expensive. The cheese is competitive with fine farmstead cheeses all over the United States, but it's not price competitive with Kraft. Produce is price competitive in season, but the question, the issue is that it's not available all year round.
In the wintertime, you don't have that luxury. You can do meats, you can do dairy, you can do, a lot of cheeses, but you can't do the produce.
The biggest issue for chefs and farmers is it's really the distribution aspect of it. You have farmers that are small, and if they say they're going to have broccoli and their broccoli comes in, too big or too little or not enough, that somehow has to be incorporated into the way the restaurant operates.
Buying food locally has some really impressive economic benefits. For the first thing, I think probably the most important thing in terms of the local economy is this idea of what they call the multiplier effect, that $1 spent locally is going to recirculate within the economy. And what they say is that if you're going to two different businesses, a locally owned business versus a chain, the locally owned business, every dollar you spend there, about 75% of that dollar will be respent within the local community. For a chain business, about less than half the money will be spent back within the local community.
Without a doubt, if you don't want to see parking lots and pavement go up in your area, the more you put your food dollars into local farms, the more money stays in the farmers' pockets, and the more likely you'll be able to see farm and cows out your back window than you're going to be able to see strip malls. I think that's pretty much a development fact.
Diners in Vermont will drive anywhere to get Vermont products. They are very loyal.
If not a statewide thing, at least the community that I've been surrounded by has been pretty strong supporters of farm activity and patronizing farmers to keep farms around, but also having that appreciation for the rural landscape and good quality food.
You go for a bike ride on a Sunday for a few hours, and I see, 5 different farmers and 5 different, people that make honey and raise beef and cheese, and I feel like, it's awesome.
People are super community oriented, I think, in Vermont. It's very much a farm environment. You're kind of bucolic farm, drive around and there's barns and cows, and it's just what people, it's a natural, I think, connection in Vermont.
Vermont has this this cachet all over the country as being artisanal and committed to quality.
It's really happening in little pockets all over the United States, and it's very much driven by extremely dedicated chefs who I would say mostly are American trained chefs, sort of who really came of age in the 70s and 80s and were very influenced by a lot of the principles of sustainability that were coming out at that time. And so, you know, you can see this group of people who are out there who are really helping to push creating a farm chef connection.
You've got this product that just hit the door, and as you know, you've got a long shelf life on it because of how fresh it is, but at the same time, your instinct is, you know, I got to use this now while it's at its peak. So yeah, it makes you a better cook. You have to be flexible, and you have to have pretty much a good repertoire of, you know, of stuff that you can roll with every day. The menu changes daily, so but it's a blast. Now my focus is to put, you know, these amazing pea tendrils on a plate that'll just, like, you know, they make you cry. They're so beautiful. So it's totally changed. Cooking has totally changed for me since I've been here, and it's been a change for you know, the better.